Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with Ask DC Network number 4. So our first question comes from Phantom G, who asks, Hey DC Network, do you think having more story-focused shows on Cartoon Network would help the channel? Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have episodic content, something that actually has a starting point, a middle point, and then an end point of a show. The only thing is, we don't see this a lot when it comes to animation on kids channels because the reason why, if you guys don't know, it's some animators have said this before, is because the executives want to be able to air the episodes in whatever order they see fit. So that's why a lot of times we don't see this. But I do think it would be something that's good to see. I mean, I'm not saying every single show on Cartoon Network should be episodic, but I think that, it's good to have a variety of some shows that you can watch in any order, and then other shows that you need to watch episode 1 to understand what's going on in episode 2, 3, 4, and so on and so on. With that all being said, though, one more thing I will add is I don't think they'll ever have a show that's exactly like, okay, yeah, if you don't watch episode 1, you're going to have no idea what's going on in episode 2. I think they'll have shows that are like, if you watch all the episodes, you'll be rewarded for that because you'll see a story progressing. But I don't think it's going to be that, oh, you absolutely have to see episode 1 in order to understand episode 2 and 3. Manveer Test asks, Hey DC Network, do you think Tom will save Cartoon Network? I mean, I don't know if he's going to save it exactly. I think the higher ups above him have the power to stop him from doing certain things. Like, for example, when we see now with Unicorn Warriors Eternal, it's exclusive to Cartoon Network, but it's also co-exclusive with HBO Max. I don't think that's a decision that came from Tom. I think it was up to him. He'd probably just have it on Cartoon Network, but the executives above him are like, no, we need stuff for HBO Max. So I don't know if he'll save Cartoon Network. I think so far he's had a good starting point, but I think it's too early to say whether or not he's going to save the network or not. I think we have to wait and see what happens next year. I want to see what new shows he's going to announce at their upfront for next year. Hackerine asks, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, what's up DC Network? Do you watch anime, and if you do, what's your favorite? So I do watch a little bit, not too much. The only shows I actually watch are Naruto, Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, and stuff like that. There's a couple others, but I don't want to list off everyone, but no more than like 6 or 7, I want to say. My favorite is probably Dragon Ball because I have the most nostalgia for that show, but right now the one I am enjoying the most is definitely My Hero Academia. It is fantastic. If you guys haven't seen it at all, I highly recommend you do watch that show. Fax FR28 Ron asks, do you think at this point Cartoon Network should just play old shows on the network? Um, yeah, so I have a video on this talking about what I think the future of Cartoon Network should be, and ignoring everything I said in that video, I do think they should have a mix. It shouldn't just be strictly old content. They should have a mixture of new and old. That's just any channel should always have a mixture of new and old. There's no reason to just completely forget about your past. If you want to hear my full thoughts on that, though, definitely check out my future Cartoon Network video because I really go in depth there. Sleepy Reviews asks, do you think Sym-Bionic Titans can come back in any type of way? Yeah, I think it can definitely come back. I actually think it eventually will come back. I think that's something that's going to happen. In what capacity? Is it going to be like a full-on series again where we get a second season, third, fourth, fifth, etc.? I don't know. That would be cool. But the one thing I got to say, though, about this, actually, and this goes for any revival, is it's kind of like, where do you draw the line, right? Like with Samurai Jack, they just did one additional season to conclude the story. Like, in theory, honestly, they could have done 2 or 3 seasons for Samurai Jack, but they decided not to. Same thing goes for Sym-Bionic Titan. They could do like 3, 4, 5 seasons for it, or they could just make it come back for 1 season and just wrap up the story. The only thing that's different, though, about Sym-Bionic Titan is that it only had 1 season. It wasn't a long show. It only had 20 episodes. So, in theory, I would think and I would want it to come back for multiple seasons. And to your first question, really quickly, I haven't seen that movie, so I don't have any thoughts on that. RRR asks 4 questions, so I'm not going to list off every single one, but I do not read comics. If I had to pick a favorite DC comic character, though, it would be Batman. I don't know about an Adventure Time regular show movie. I kind of don't want to ever see it happen just because I like that they're separate universes and I kind of want to keep it that way. Your third question is really interesting. Cartoon Network rebrand ideas. So I actually like the logo of the channel right now. I don't dislike that. I think they could have some cool bumpers and all, but I don't really want them to have a full-on rebrand. And it actually makes me think and made me think, you know what, like Tom Ashim's the new president, right? We've had this look for Cartoon Network for a long time now. This is the longest I think we've ever had a single look for the channel. Are we going to get a rebrand anytime soon? That's something that I am very, very curious on. Maybe I'll make a full video on that actually, because that would be something interesting to dive into. Your last question: I don't think Genndy can save Cartoon Network with his new show alone. One, in my view at least, one show doesn't save an entire network. I think you need to have a lot of shows to save a network. I think this is a good starting point, though. I do think that, based on what we have seen, the little we've seen of this show, it looks pretty cool. It looks like it's going to be something that might be a little dark, and I think that's refreshing for the network, and I think it could help start to push the network into the right direction. Samuel B1 asks, if you could revive one Cartoon Network show, what would it be? If I had to pick one show, it would be the original Ben 10 timeline. I would make a fifth iteration of Ben 10. If you're talking about a show, though, that was canceled and we never got to finish it, then I would say Sym-Bionic Titan. Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon fanboy asks, are you aware that there is a live-action Powerpuff Girls series in development at the CW? No, actually, when I read this comment, I was like, really? There is? I can't imagine there being I can't picture them doing a Powerpuff Girls live-action series. I can't picture how that would look. Would the Powerpuff Girls, would the three of them be in CGI and then everybody else is real? I just really can't imagine how that would look, because I can't, if it's live action characters for the three main, for the Powerpuff Girls, then they would be, regular sized people, I guess, unless if they're little kids. I honestly don't know. It's something I can't picture happening, but that's really amazing that they're doing that. I had no clue about that. Thanks for letting me know, actually. Malang asks, hey DC Network, do you think Cartoon Network should make sequel series for their older shows? Absolutely. Like, why hasn't Galactic Kids Next Door been greenlit? Like, that just seems like a fantastic idea. Why not do sequels to some of your older shows? Like, listen, you're not going to make a sequel for everything, obviously. Like, the only shows I could imagine getting sequels are, like I just said, Kid Next Door, maybe a sequel to Ben 10, but I think, yeah, definitely you should look back and be like, okay, if a creator comes to us and says, hey, I got an idea for a sequel series of this wildly popular show from back in the day, why would you say no to that if the idea is good? Huey Toonmore asks, with the announcement of new shows such as Tiny Toons University and Tartakovsky's Unicorn Project, do you think that Cartoon Network is finally getting back on its feet? I think it's the start of it. I think this is pushing them in the right direction. I don't want to say it's going to be the juggernaut it was back in the 90s and 2000s, because I think it's a little too early to say that, but I think it could be. Like I said earlier in this video, I'm very curious to see what happens next year, what shows get greenlit next year. I think that will give us a better picture of the direction of Cartoon Network and what they're going to do going forward. But yeah, I mean, I will say this, there's an optimistic outlook right now with Cartoon Network after these two shows got announced. Definitely an optimistic outlook. Halo's number one biggest fan asks, can you do a top 10 best Nickelodeon shows list? Maybe. I mean, I try to stay away from doing Nick stuff because the last time I did, they completely banned the video worldwide. That's my SpongeBob video, like what if Cartoon Network owned SpongeBob? I also have a video on same concept but with Danny Phantom. That one didn't get taken down, but I'm thinking of maybe experimenting with a Nick video, maybe about Drake and Josh, and if that doesn't get taken down, maybe I'll do a top 10 list for Nick one day. We'll see. Tavi asks, did you enjoy the 1998 to 2004 Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater block? I actually forgot about that, and then I clicked on the link you had posted on your comment, and I actually do remember watching it. I remember, that, introducing me to a lot of these older movies that I hadn't seen before. What I actually remember more so, though, I don't remember what it was called exactly, but on Boomerang, I remember at one point, and you guys can let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about, what it's called. But I remember at one point every month Boomerang would have like a character that they would focus on, and then they would play movies with that character and like shows that had to do with that character. Like for example, I remember one time it was like Tweety Bird was the focus of the month, and another time it was like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Completely forgot what that block was called, but if you guys know, definitely let me know. Pinky Pool asks, what do I think of the possibility of the original Teen Titans making a comeback for a final season, either to Adult Swim or HBO Max? I feel like if it ever happens, which it's really becoming an if now, I would say put it on HBO Max because you have much more freedom. Actually, maybe not. I was going to say you have much more freedom with what you do on HBO Max, but then again, Adult Swim has a show like Rick and Morty, so I don't think they care what happens on Adult Swim. But I have a feeling, honestly, it would probably go to HBO Max. But anyways, uh, I think it's possible. If you asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have told you that by now we would have seen it. I was honestly, I made a video earlier this year talking about this, but I am honestly absolutely shocked that this hasn't happened yet. I mean, there were hints towards it back 3 years ago that people were clamoring for it, and we still have not gotten it, which is just, like I said, I'm completely and utterly just shocked at that. And this one quick more thing I will add on this is another situation like I was mentioning before. Like, would you want it to come back for one more season, or would you want it to come back for multiple seasons? It's a show that I could imagine that I would like to see have not only one more season, but two more seasons, three more seasons, and so on. Something like Young Justice, that came back, right? And it got a third season, and now it's getting a fourth season. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that happen to the original Teen Titans. Christopher Davis asks, DC Network, do you miss the old Cartoon Network? Yeah, I mean, I used to watch Cartoon Network pretty much majority of my day when I was home, when I was younger. I used to watch it a lot. And I used to really enjoy watching the wide variety of shows that they had on the network. Like, I've said this before in other videos, but I remember coming home from school and it was like 4 o'clock and Maguzi was on, and they had like Code Lyoko or the original Ben 10 or Naruto at one point. I remember they had a marathon of like every day. The entire Zabuza arc was aired. I remember that. Like, I really enjoyed watching Cartoon Network back in the day. And now if I'm being honest with you guys, I barely ever tune into the channel. The only time I tune into Cartoon Network is if there's absolutely nothing else on TV. It's like a last resort to me now, which is kind of sad because it went from being the first thing I would check to now the last thing I would check just because they don't really air much anymore. It's the same stuff over and over again. Darth Khan 29X asks, why is it difficult for channels like Nick and CN to approve episodic streaming shows like OKHO, Steven Universe, etc.? The reason why, and I kind of dove into this a little bit before, the reason why is because executives don't like that on a cartoon channel because obviously cartoon channels are targeted towards kids. And they want to be able to air the episodes in whatever order they want at any given time. And if it's an episodic show, they can't do that. They can't air episode 5 after airing episode 3 because then you don't know what happened in episode 4 and you're going to be confused. That's why they don't like having shows like that. Hamza asks, what do you think of the new DuckTales on Disney XD? So I haven't watched it in I want to say 3 years. When it first came out, I checked it out. There's actually a video on this channel from 3 years ago, me praising the show. If you guys, if you want to check that out, you can check that out. But I haven't watched it in 3 years. I remember liking it when I saw it and praising it, saying like, this is what Cartoon Network should do to their reboots. But I mean, I haven't watched it since. It's something that I watched probably the first two, three episodes for, and then I fell off after that. DJ asks, what do you think Boomerang needs to do to get the spark that they used to have back? Just air old shows. Just go back to what you were. Don't air stuff that is currently on Cartoon Network. Because literally right now, and I've made videos on this long ago, Boomerang is a Cartoon Network too. It's literally just airing shows that are on Cartoon Network, but not in HD in the US at least. There's no reason for that. We have Cartoon Network for that. Have Boomerang be the show where it's all coming back to you like it did 10 years ago. Have it be playing stuff, When I was younger, Boomerang aired, and when I used to watch it, it would air the Hanna-Barbera classics and all that stuff, right? I always imagined at that time that when I'm older, it's going to be airing the stuff that I grew up with, right? I always imagined that I'd be watching, like, 10 years in the future, Ben 10 Alien Force on it, like Chowder on it, like stuff like that. And yeah, they did it here and there for a little bit, but that's not what it is anymore. It became, the place where, oh, you can watch stuff that was on years ago to, hey, if you miss Teen Titans Go on Cartoon Network, well, come watch it on Boomerang. Or you missed the Ben 10 reboot on Cartoon Network, come watch it on Boomerang. That's what it's become. And it even has some original series, which that just makes zero sense to me. Like, why have original series on Boomerang when you could just air those on Cartoon Network? Like, you're just splitting up your content then to two different channels for what reason I really don't know. The unknown person asks, if you were the president of Cartoon Network, what would you do to fix the issues they have? Okay, so I first and foremost just acknowledge the fact that we have 20 plus years of shows and actually air those throughout the day. Air current shows and then air a mixture of current and old. That's the first and foremost. Secondly, I would definitely start to greenlit a wide variety of shows. I wouldn't just have everything be a comedy. I'd have some darker shows or some action shows and stuff like that. Obviously, nothing too dark because it is a kids channel, but that's besides the point. And yeah, that's pretty much the two major things I'd say they need to do. I think it'd be cool to do some more little things too, like like maybe like bring it back how like Saturday night used to be movie night, and actually work with production companies to get some movies onto the channel, some stuff like that. I think that kind of stuff would be cool to see. Mr. Doctor Jr. asks, what are your thoughts on the HBO Max cross Cartoon Network originals, such as like Tick and Seek, The Funky's Close Enough? So basically, the shows that HBO Max stole from the network. So I am someone who I have videos of me ranting on this. I think there's an HBO Max rant from like maybe a year ago or beginning of this year that I can't stand something like that, man. I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason why you should be taking content away from your networks just to, you know, get people's foot in the door on a $15 streaming service. That's all you're trying to do is just gain more money. That's all they're trying to do is like a cash grab, basically. I've said this before, but like Disney Plus, the shows that are airing on Disney Plus have nowhere else to air. Like Star Wars: The Clone Wars season 7, it's not going to air on Disney XD. The Mandalorian's not airing on ABC. They don't have anywhere to air those types of shows. That's what streaming should be meant for. Meanwhile, HBO Max here is like, oh yeah, we have, Tick and Seeks the Funkies. They're perfectly fine for Cartoon Network. Close Enough's perfectly fine for Adult Swim. But we could just take those and then charge $15 for them. Why not? We can make $15 a month for off of people. Why not do that instead of just giving it to people paying for their TV subscriptions already? Agent Venom asks, do you think Cartoon Network will ever get a streaming service? No. No, I do not. The reason why I say no is because there's HBO Max. At this point, I don't think Warner Media, Warner Brothers, they're never going to add new streaming services because their big umbrella is HBO Max. That's all their shows are going to be under HBO Max. The one thing that's left, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think the only streaming services that is left besides HBO Max for them is Boomerang, and that could be something that eventually gets merged into HBO Max at some given point in the near future. Flash Funk 2003 asks, do you think Time Machine will bring back creative bumpers on Cartoon Network? So that's a tough one because I would say yeah, bring back cool new bumpers like we had back in the day, but here's the only problem with that. They don't want to spend money on stuff like that. Like networks nowadays don't want to be spending money on a bumper. They don't want to be putting like say like $10,000 or $20,000 a year on bumpers. They just don't. They want to get what is the cheapest possible bumper they can just to cut down on costs and stuff like that. So with that all being said though, I do think it's possible to still have, cost friendly bumpers that are cool and unique. But I mean we have to see on that. Stopwatch Animation asks, did you give up for the Amazing World of Gumball movie? No, I think it's still happening. I think they're just working on it quietly. I've said this in other videos. I don't know why they would work on it quietly, but I think that's what they're doing. Bump Bob asks, do you think Unicorn Warriors Eternal counts as a CN original or an HBO Max original? I think it's a Cartoon Network original. The reason why is because it is being made by Cartoon Network Studios. I think they're just throwing it onto HBO Max as a plus. I wouldn't call it a Max original. Like the one thing that kind of bugs me too is like they're calling Infinity Train a Max original, which it's not. It's a Cartoon Network original that they literally just stole from the channel and like, hey, it's an HBO Max original, but no, it's still being made by Cartoon Network Studios. They're just calling it that because you want to get more money for your streaming service. Jared Smith asks, what's your reaction if Adult Swim made a Halloween seasonal block called Fear Fest, and this block would show horror films and much more and whatnot? Dude, I think this idea is absolutely awesome. Why aren't they doing this already, honestly? Like, I'm someone who thinks that for every holiday, you should be doing something special on your channel for that month. Like Halloween, you should have spooky stuff on, like Halloween specials on. Christmas, same thing. Thanksgiving, there aren't many Thanksgiving specials, but I would do the same thing, and so on and so on. This is an awesome idea, and I would love to see something like this. And our last question comes from Dexter the Nostalgia Toonster. Do you think Cartoon Network will ever do something about their old shows they worked on in the past? I hope they do. I don't want them to just feel like, hey, just forever forget about what we did in the past. I hope they do. I don't think like the ones you list here, like Juniper Lee, I don't think that's ever going to come back. Like Cow and Chicken, I don't think that's going to come back. I could definitely see Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Laboratory coming back for like a movie or something. I don't think they're going to get fully revived, but I could definitely see them coming back for a movie. I mean, maybe they do get a revival. I don't know, but I would certainly hope that they start to acknowledge their old content. And one more thing, actually, I just thought of it. It's pretty ironic, actually, that this is the age that all different production companies are basically very nostalgia heavy right now. They're all trying to reboot or revive stuff that were successful in the past, and they're not really making as many new ideas. And Cartoon Network was even getting in on that too with the Ben 10 reboot, Powerpuff Girls reboot, etc., right? But yet they don't air their old stuff. So if you're in a time that's nostalgia heavy and people are, banking on nostalgia nowadays with all these reboots and whatnot, why wouldn't you then just air some old stuff? Literally, it costs you no money to do. You guys are like, your stuff is literally just sitting there. You paid all the money to make it already. You have to do nothing. You just put it on the channel and people would go bananas over it, and you would bring in so much revenue because of that. That's just something I thought of now, which is kind of ironic. In a nostalgia heavy era, Cartoon Network is not taking advantage of this. Anyways, that's it for Ask DC Network number 4. Some fantastic questions this time. Honestly, I had a huge list of ones I wanted to get to, but I had to cut some due to time constraints. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.